Roll call.
Mayor Herrera,
Present.
Vice Mayor Martha Garcia. Councilmember Carlos Gonzalez. Present. Councilmember Miguel Giapondo.
I'm on the phone.
Councilmember Luis Galindo. Again, Councilmember Luis Galindo. Councilmember Jesus Roldan. Present. Councilmember Juan Castillo.
Present.
Moving on. Call to the public.
Mr. Mayor, no members of the public filled out any forms.
Okay, we have no items from consent agenda or old business. We're gonna go straight to new business. Item number one, discussion and possible action to proclaim May 5th, 2020 as Teacher Appreciation Day in the city of Somerton.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, National Teacher Appreciation Day is today, May 5th, 2020, and this proclamation is an opportunity to thank and recognize the teachers here in Somerton who make a tremendous and positive contribution to our community. And the proclamation before you is recommended action is to proclaim today as Teacher Appreciation Day. You want to vote here? Why not?
Any opposed? Motion carries. Whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of Americans, whereas today, millions of Americans engage in bicycling as an environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent form of fitness, and quality family recreation, whereas the education of cyclists and motorists as to proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of all roadway users, whereas the League of American Bicyclists, Yuma Region Bicycle Coalition, and independent cyclists throughout our state are promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities. Whereas bicycle activities and attractions can have a positive impact on Somerton's economy and tourism, and by making the city attractive to business and citizens who enjoy the outdoors and healthy lifestyle. Whereas creating bicycle-friendly communities has been shown to improve residents' well-being, quality of life, to boost community spirit, and to improve traffic safety and to reduce pollution and congestion. And whereas the city of Somerton continues to develop a multi-use pathway system to promote outdoor and physical activity, including bicycling, and holds special events that feature bicycling as an excellent choice for transportation, exercise, and recreation. So therefore, I, Gerardo Anaya, Mayor of the City of Somerton, do hereby proclaim May 2020 as Bicycle Month in Somerton. Discussion and possible action to select health insurance program for city employees.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you know, we just completed a work session discussing this matter. Human Resources Specialist Armando Leon is here to provide maybe any final thoughts and receive any direction the council may have to this matter.
Mayor Naya. Mayor Garcia. So I don't think we need to see the presentation again. You've got all the information. Is there anything that you want me to review for the record?
Well, like we discussed, and council members, please help me. Just look at those, finish up those percentages, and also look at the high deductible with the Mexico insurance, and just give us options. And I feel that we're pretty close on making a decision. We know that Blue Cross Blue Shield is probably the best option, at least it became apparent. And I just want to thank you for all your hard work in leading this. I know it's a lot of information. And so, is there anything that we need to add that council members would like to see back? Can we have this up?
You know what I would add also? I would also add that, you know, I know Transwestern is an option for the Mexico coverage, but I would also look into, you know, CIADMED. I know in our conversations, I believe San Luis, Arizona has Blue Cross Blue Shield along with CIADMED. So I think that is an option. The only thing, my concern with going with Transwestern as you know, as coverage is I still haven't received the information that I requested, the cost analysis back in October, you know, and you know, we talked about it and I never received that. So what's a concern for me is, you know, I know that 140 amount is low, but is it suffice to cover the self-funded plan? You know, and that's why that cost analysis to me was very important, is very important, because I want to be able to kind of see if, you know, any insurance plan can give you any premium that they want, especially if it's self-funded, you know. So to me, I mean, I'm still waiting on that. I mean, if you can get it to me, that'd be great. You know, and that's the only thing that I'm requesting, you know. But as far as I agree with you, Mayor, I think Blue Cross Blue Shield is by far our best option for now, and we just need to work out the dependence and seeing those percentages. broken down, I think it'll give all of us a good indication. Like Mayor said, I think we're close. But I also would just follow up with CRMA, because some of the benefits, I mean, with Transwestern, it's a $20 deductible. CRMA, it's only $5. With Transwestern, they get generic brand. With CRMA, you get brand names. So those are some of the things that I think are also important to take into consideration. And I know both Mexican coverages have coverages here in the U.S. for emergencies only. So on that, to me, if we're gonna do this, let's make sure we get the best possible option out there. Even if it costs the city a little bit more, we'll be saving up more when it comes to the claims cost. So to me, let's look at those and get those percentages and go from there.
Okay. I'll reach out to CR Med to see if they can work out. My understanding from conversations that I've had from them is that they need to speak to whomever our main provider is going to be, and then they basically form an agreement with that. Like, for example, now that we know that Blue Cross Blue Shield is the option that we're moving towards, then CR Med could have a conversation with Blue Cross Blue Shield to see if they can work some type of administrative agreement. But then it's up to them whether they can work that out.
Well, I'm assuming it would be very similar, like the city of San Luis, because they have it. So I mean, it's just
I'll explore that option. Yes.
That's all I have.
Need a motion to table this item?
I'll make a motion to table this item until we get that information for the next meeting.
There's a motion by Councilman Castillo, second by Vice Mayor Garcia. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Council members remotely, can you hear us well? Are you having any technical issues?
It sounded a lot better. A little while ago, it was pretty bad.
Same thing over here. It's hard to hear you, Mayor, but
Okay. Item number 4, discussion of possible action to approve resolution 2020-05, the mayor and city council of the city of Somerton, Arizona, amending the city of Somerton Personnel Policy Handbook 2020 by authorizing the following changes. Updating section 806, bereavement leave for immediate family and others, adding section 206, access and identification badges, and adding section 717, tuition and reimbursement program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jorge Lozano, City Attorney speaking. In front of you is a resolution that proposes to make additions to our current personnel policy handbook. As you know, back on November 19 of 2019, Council approved a new personnel policy handbook. That handbook went into effect on January 1st, 2020, and that's been what's been governing our employee relations here at the city of Somerton. So the proposed action is to amend some of the policies. The Personnel Policy Committee met on April 28, 2020, and directed and gave permission. The Policy Committee is made up of a representative of the departments. 5 members are department heads and 5 members are regular employees, and that's just the way it worked out because they all selected their representative. City Manager Ian McGahee and myself in an advisory role. And so one of the policies that was discussed for amending was section 806, which was bereavement policy. That one was the one that was generated a little bit more talk and controversy, and I wanted to pass out a quick summary of the changes to that policy.
Mayor, I have a comment before we get started on this bereavement portion. Obviously, you guys are receiving a handout, which is something that those of us that are on the call can't view, can't see it. My question is if it wasn't, there was anything wrong with it, why are we changing it?
Okay, so that's the discussion, Mr. Villalpando. So without even handout, one of the reasons why we looked at this is the following. The policy itself, as we currently have in our handbook, definition of what a relative is, and we'd have to look at a different section to determine what a relative is that makes employees eligible for this benefit. And so the application to that section was erroneous. It is in section 203, which is our gifts and gratuities section. And I think the reference was meant to be section 202, which is. And so when you look at the definition of a relative under nepotism, that is a very inclusive definition of what a family member is. I mean, it includes a lot of people. Under that section, if you the page, it includes a spouse, a child, a parent, a father-in-law, a mother-in-law, brother, sister, niece, nephew, grandparent, and the ones highlighted in yellow: great-grandfather, great-grandchild, great-grandparent, aunt, uncle, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and grandchild were all what the committee thought were just extra members of a family that normally would not receive that type of benefit in other similar agencies or cities. And if you take a look at I've included the Yuma County bereavement policy and also the city of bereavement policies. You can take a look at some of the members that are covered in each of those agencies. In addition, another one of the changes, it clarifies that employees are to receive 40 hours of bereavement leave. And 48 hours for fire working 24-hour shifts. So that we were having difficulty applying those rates to some employees that were working different shifts. So we had to make that distinction there. And also we made it applicable to full-time employees under the old policy. Obviously, any employee could receive this benefit. As council is aware of, not all part-time employees don't receive, state retirement. They don't get health insurance and some of the other benefits that regular full-time employees get. So this policy makes it clear on that level. So all in all, we're asking the committee to approve the council to approve the recommendation of the committee. Any questions on the bereavement policy as is being recommended?
Mayor, it answers my question, but I still have some concerns as far as the policy, the way it's being presented. Because a nephew, I have nieces and nephews, and they have kids, and they're ultimately in a roundabout way my nephews as well. So at what point do we put an end to nieces and nephews? For me, I think for 40 hours, if the city is going to be paying 40 hours, it needs to be for the immediate household. Now, if there's a cousin or some sort of other relative that's not a member of the household, then yeah, maybe 2 days, 3 days. But for us to sit there for 40 hours for everybody that could potentially fall in that category, I have cousins I haven't seen in years, and I'm not that close. If something happens to them, sure, I'm going to be upset, but I don't think I should take 40 hours off to go to funeral services or whatever it might be. And I could see some potential abuse in regards to just a flat 40 hours for whatever relatives are being listed.
And Councilman Villalpando, neither the old policy doesn't include cousins or uncles and aunts, and neither does the new proposal. What we have eliminated, though, are relatives, for example, great-grandchild.
Yes, I'm aware. I was just using it as an example. I'm using it as an example. Like, again, I don't have the document that you have in front of me, so I mean, I can't go off and read off of a document that I can't see. But where I'm questioning is these nieces and nephews you have listed, which is one that stood out the most. You know, again, in my example that I gave, I have nieces and nephews that are the kids of my sister or brother. Now they have kids. They technically are my nieces and nephews as well. Am I as close to them as I am to the others? No. And you know what? But when are we going to put an end? Well, what is the end line? You know, there's some families out there that have relatives. God knows how many relatives that pop up in a year. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why for me, it makes sense. 5 days makes sense for those that live within your household, which I mean, children, spouses, mom and dad, possibly a brother and a sister. But after that, 5 days? I mean, so for me, it doesn't make sense. And did the days increase from the old?
No, the days stayed the same. Incidentally, Yuma County does not cover nephews or nieces. That was a point of contention or a point of discussion at the level. Also, the city of Yuma does not cover nieces and nephews.
There you go. You guys are employees always have the expectation for us to be compared to Yuma.
That was what the committee recommended. By all means, you decide.
If we either redline that particular relative or
Not taking into consideration
Mr. Villalpando
comments and points, but that was, I can tell you, none of the other cities and agencies
includes that category.
Mr. Villalpando, this is Mr. Gonzalez. Can you hear me? Miguel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think that when we decided to do, or not me, but the committee itself decided to go with the nieces and nephews, and they gave them different scenarios. I mean, I don't think they were really thinking about that. My nephew, son, you know what I'm saying? It was pretty much nieces and nephews, period. Not so much their kids. When we committee decided to add them into as a new relative, because they were in a different category. But I do understand your concern that, you know, you have nephews and then they have their own kids and you know, if something happens to them, they're not as close as your nephews. But then I think the whole policy is since it's only nephews and nieces, not so much their own kids. That makes sense?
There's no difference. They're still your nieces and nephews. That's what I'm saying, that there's no distinction. And again, you know, they could use PTO. I doubt any department head out there will deny somebody PTO if they have a death in the family.
Mayor, I also agree with Mr. Councilman Villalpando. You know, immediate family, and father-in-law, and I think nieces and nephews is. No, I see that also as you know, not considered immediate family. If we're gonna be not mimicking, but also what other cities are doing, we should take a look into that too.
Yes, go ahead.
Vice Mayor?
The reason why grandchild wasn't included in the
I think it was, huh?
it's not in the new relative.
It's not here, but it is in the amendments, right? Maybe it was an oversight?
Yes, the old definition included your great grandchild.
Grandchild and your grandchild.
Under the new proposal, those two relatives are no longer covered. That, not even the grandchild.
And that's consistent with,
What Yuma County,
well, actually, Yuma County does.
the grandchild, but the city of Yuma does not include a grandchild.
My was grandchild.
Yeah, the grandchild is in the city of Yuma right here. Eligible members or grandchild, including adopted or foster.
I believe that only entitles someone to
5 days, and in immediate families, 10 days for the city of Yuma.
House and children in the city of Yuma.
Spouse and children, 10 days, yeah. Hopefully, we can get to use it.
And you know what, I agree with the Councilman, Villalpando. You know, I think that, you know, where do we draw the line here with the nieces and nephew? I mean, I think everything else seems reasonable. You know, 5 days is you know, would, you know, it might not, I know it might not be enough, but at least it's a start. But for me, I would say let's remove niece and nephew. That would be my suggestion. But I do have another question. As to looking at this and looking at the notes, it says here, you know, employees are allowed up to 40 hours, but fire, or 48 hours for fire service employees, you know, working 4-hour shifts. When I look at that comment, you know, I know our employees work in an average week, they end up working about 40 hours. In 2 weeks, they end up working approximately 80 hours. So, I mean, just a question, could you elaborate on why?
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, firefighters working at 24-hour shifts, they work 56 hours in a work week because they're working 24-hour shift. Are they working two 24-hour shifts?
Correct.
And so if we gave them those two 24-hour shifts, it's really equivalent to 2 days off, but we're compensating them with 48 hours. So that they at least 2 days off to go do their bereavement leave. But for example, at the city of Yuma, they multiply everything by 1.4. So whatever leave or benefit firefighter, a normal employee gets, the city of Yuma does it by 1.4. And so that's the way they're able to compensate firefighters for that type of leave.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow. So let's say, for example, a firefighter's relative passes. You know, I'm understanding that it would take the next 5 days to bring clear. Am I wrong to assume that?
They could, but we're only compensating them for 48 hours. For them, 5 days is 24 hours. A day is 24 hours, a shift. And so say you take 5 days off times 24, that's over 100 hours of bereavement leave.
Mr. Mayor, Chief Deanda is asking to comment on this.
Yes, thank you, Chief.
Yeah, Mr. Councilmember Castillo, as Jorge explained, we work 56 hours on average. If you average out total hours we work, a firefighter works about 900 and some hours more a year than a normal employee. And so if you were to give a firefighter parity of 2 days, it would be equivalent of 56 hours instead of 40 hours. They chose to give us 48 hours, and I told Ian and Jorge that we're good with that. I would prefer that they give 2 days in the balance of the rest, so the parity is 56 for 40. But 2 days is fine. You have to understand that when a regular employee takes off, a 40-hour employee takes off 5 days, the city takes it off from Monday to Friday. He actually gets 9 days off. because he's got the weekend before and the weekend after. Okay, so if a firefighter takes 2 shifts off, even if he gets the best circumstances, he always ends up 9 hours or a whole day less than a regular employee. But that's just the circumstance of who we are as firefighters. I mean, we chose this job, so we take our lumps. But the 48 hours to me is fair, because if they get the day off before and after, it ends up being the equivalent of 4 days. So 1 day shy is not bad. Too much?
I actually didn't want it to kind of, our employees to kind of feel that they're, being like, oh, we're being more generous with one, but it can make, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, and actually, just to understand all that, because I know I talked a lot. Actually, the 40-hour employees are getting more than the firefighters are getting. Okay, because they're getting 5 days off. And that means that because they work 8 hours, so when they get the 5 days off, it's 8 hours each day. It's the 24 hours they're getting off. They're not waking up at night to go back to work. The firefighter's working 24 hours, so he takes those 2 days. He gets the equivalent of either 3 or 4 days off, depending on how his days off fall around those 2 work days. So he can lose 1 or 2 days compared to a 40-hour employee. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on this, that we're not taking more, we're taking less.
Thank you, Chief. And how many employees do we have in this category for firefighters working a 24-hour shift?
There's 24 employees. Well, actually, it's let me figure this out. It's 21 employees, because 3 of us are administrative. We're 8 to 5, and so the 8 to 5 do not count in that.
So, anybody else?
Mayor. I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Although we are talking about days off, yes, it's correct. The fire department does get the short end of the stick, but we're talking about hours. I mean, they might get us the short end of the stick on the days off, but they get paid 8 more hours than somebody taking 5 days, or somebody that's not in public safety or fire department, police department. So, well, actually not the police department, I'm sorry, but the fire. So they do get something out of it, and that's 8 more hours.
Actually, that's incorrect. We work 56 hours, and they work 40 hours. So they're getting an entire week off.
But you're getting paid for 48 hours. The employees are only getting paid for 40. That's why I made a reference to hours, comparing hours to hours, days to days.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, though, because a normal employee in a 5 days work is worth 40 hours. A firefighter in 5 days work is worth 56 hours.
Yeah, but they're going to come back and work I'm assuming the other 8, correct?
No, that's my whole argument, actually, is if you really want to do parity, apples to apples, and you give a fireman 56 hours, he would get the 48 plus another additional 8 hours. And when they said, no, we're not going to get the 8, I said, well, that's fine. As long as we get the 2 days, I'm good with that. But my big point, my bone to pick in this is I want to make everybody understand that we're not getting a better deal here. We're getting less.
Well, maybe on days, but you guys are getting 48 hours paid, and the others are getting paid for 40 only.
Okay, let's move on. So it's got the potential to go
This was
a different tangent. Yeah. The retreat.
So what I heard was strike out nephews and nieces, and then move grandchild into the category. I think that's, or does anybody else have any other suggestions as presented?
Is there a motion? Okay, so do you want to go over the other? Okay.
Don't seem as controversial, but Mayor and Council, the other policy that we had discussed was the addition of a section 80, I'm sorry, strike that, section 206, which would be a new policy called access and identification badges. And this new policy addresses the requirements that badges be worn by all employees for a safer work environment and clarifying who can and cannot have access to controlled areas in building facilities. So this new policy makes it mandatory that all employees, obviously get photographs and get to wear our badges. There's exemptions for emergency personnel. Obviously, a firefighter is not going to worry about putting a badge when they're out there fighting a fire, etc. But for the most part, employees do have to have this identification badge. This badge is also enabled so that we can have access to buildings. So it's a 2-in-1 badge, and in future, there's other features that can be added, such as opening up your computer or signing in or clocking in or out or whatnot. So it's a multi-purpose badge that IT is working on. And so this is the first step, is to pass a policy that defines, the parameters on who gets it, when it's supposed to be worn, and, violations for abuse. For example, if you're flashing it off when a police officer pulls you over, and some of those conducts. So if we're going to roll out this program to have an ID badge for our employees, we thought it was a good idea to have a policy in place to address, the use and the policy. So you have it in front of you. There was no really discussion on this at the Personnel Committee, and so that's also in front of you for adoption. Any questions on the proposed policy for access and identification badges? No? Okay. All right, and finally, the last policy that the committee looked at was policy, which is an addition of section 717, which is a tuition reimbursement program. This new policy provides an added benefit to full-time employees that wish to pursue higher education. Incidentally, this is not the same as certification. So if you want to be certified for a police officer, for a firefighter, for a wastewater treatment operator, those certifications, those are covered through the department and in the budgetary process. This is an added potential benefit for employees who wish to, start a new degree or finish off a degree that they otherwise would not be able to attain if they were somewhere else. So eligible employees can receive up to $2,500, and that was set at $1,750 per semester or per half year.
200, no?
Right? Yeah, sorry, $1,250. You're an engineer. Your math is better, Mayor. So, and so, in reimbursable costs for attending college, and obviously this is subject to an annual appropriation by the City Council. So, council would decide each year, hey, we would like to put $15,000 towards this program, or if we pass the policy and you feel like you don't want to put anything for that program this year because things are tight, it's subject to an annual appropriation. Right now, there are some employees that are getting some sort of educational assistance. However, there's no written policy for it. And I think in parity, we need to make this program, if we are going to have it, across the board for all employees to take advantage of. If you decide during budget discussions that you want to put in $15,000, well, that could put at least 6 or 7 people through school for the year until a new allocation gets made the following year. And it also defines their commitment to the city, that they would have to sign a form making a commitment for a year. So obviously, if they get terminated or if they decide to leave the city within a year of a payment, then they'd have to reimburse the city for that payment. Yes, go ahead.
Clarification on that year commitment. Is it after they take the course for 2 semesters? We say, is it after they complete that course that we're counting that year?
So it's reimbursements received during the past 12 months of employment. So they could finish their semester, submit for reimbursement, and within, I believe our policy says about 45 days, you would get a payment. So within 12 months of a reimbursement.
If they don't finish, do we need to pay it back?
If they don't finish, I'm sorry.
If they,
Well, they would finish their course, submit their
they don't finish the year with the city.
Yes, they would pay it off, so the actual, the contract that we were proposing would say that payment gets deducted from, if through a payroll deduction, which is their last payment, and if there's insufficient funds there, then we'd have to look somewhere else to try and collect that money. So there's an agreement that they would have to sign, in order for them to avail themselves of this benefit. We've had people leave the organization, and unfortunately, we had to pay some of their courses that the city had committed to paying, with disregard to that commitment for them to stay with the city for a year.
Do they need to show financial need like FAFSA, and then are we paying the remaining, or in theory, they could be getting their Pell Grant, their tuition paid, plus $12.50 to go to school instead? You know,
Good question, right?
Mayor Council, I don't believe, I thought about including, deducting all those other type of costs. However, if we model it after something similar to what Yuma County does, they don't require that those deductions.
it would just be an education incentive.
Yes.
They could use it for a laptop or gas if they get their tuition paid for.
Well, the policy says it's reimbursement for tuition, books, and fees.
And it's paid for expenses pre-approved by the department head. So yeah, they can't go out and buy a car, or they can't go out and buy some of those other materials. So it's very specific: tuition, books, and fees.
Mayor, I have a question.
Councilman Villalpando?
See, since it does say reimbursement, so if they're not, if there's no out-of-pocket cost for them, then how are we gonna give them this money if FAFSA is covering it? So you do have to take into consideration FAFSA because it's a reimbursement.
Yeah, and that would be my interpretation. It's either a scholarship or reimbursement. You need to show us some sort of, their bill, their payment, and then we'll reimburse. And it will be up to $12.50, but if their financial need is less, then we reimburse that much.
Mayor,
I'm not sure if most employees that are employed full-time for the city would have necessarily an award of financial aid, because this is an employee-related reimbursement. I'm not sure what the statistics show on what the cutoff is, but I hope nobody's working for the city at the poverty level that they have to get financial aid or the FAFSA.
Okay, right now we have some monies there that are provided per department, right? In other words, there's already people that have used that kind of money that we had on each department to use it for education. If they want to go back to get a degree, I know, because I know that we had someone that left that was sent to get a certification on something.
Yes, right now there are some employees that individually are receiving assistance.
And what was it? Did we have something going on like we want to implement right now, like with us other financial things that the student has?
This policy would take over, and then any employee that's currently receiving any type of aid from the city would have to start on this policy.
So, and they have to provide you with the documentation, I think, for both semesters. That's what we're.
Yes, you would have to turn in your paperwork, show proof that you received.
You're gonna get, and I agree with.
Wasn't it 3 in the morning, like?
And I agree with Councilman Villafando, but if you're gonna get reimbursed, you have to show what you pay for. So.
And I don't know if they're still, but 25 years ago, you would get your your financial, uses of your grants, and this is the amount remaining, and you get loans or pay it off. So I don't know, we should request, because 1250 is, I think it's good, but if we can just reimburse the employee for the remaining, I think that would be, we could, potentially affect more employees. I think.
Mayor, I would like to add some.
It's up to 2,500 per calendar year. And these are pre-approved by the department head and human resources. So, part of that is.
The department head, why? I would say human resources, department wide would have to pick and choose if they meet all the requirements. Let's just have.
Well, we would actually need their participation, because if, for example, a class is like at 4 p.m. and they'd have to take out at 4 p.m., we hopefully get the department head on board.
Okay,
we do need some sort of.
As far as scheduling.
We do need some.
Not that the department's going to pick and choose who.
Except we do, if I may, Mr. Mayor, we do want to have the department head ensure that the course is applicable to what they're doing for their job. And human resources would probably have a handle on that, but we want to make sure it's not going to be that weaving or cloud interpretation or whatever it has to be like.
But I didn't get that from the policy. Does it say something like that? Because to me, I would be all for it if we have, a street crew, and he wants to start study accounting. I'd be all for it. It's like, even if it's not related to his job, but if he wants to improve himself, to me, that's an incentive and a benefit to the employees, instead of, oh, you need to study engineering or whatever related to it. So to me, I'm more concerned that it's an accredited college and university like we have it, or vocational school, and cover what financial aid, grants, and scholarships don't pay.
Mayor, I have a question.
Councilman Roldan, go ahead.
At the county, actually, human resources is the one that deals with this. You have to submit your application, and you have to pay for your classes first. Then you have to bring a proof of that you paid for those classes, not financial aid or anything like that you pay out of your pocket. And then you can get reimbursed, but you get reimbursed at the end when you show either a C or better. And they take care of that, and your head department also, but the head department just, like Ian mentioned, that make sure it's something that is that way we take away the head department choosing who can go and who cannot go or whatever it is. But I think it has to go through human resources, and I think, if for me, if they pay first for that, I think they're gonna put more into that class, something that they're paying, and at the end, they see if they get a C or a B or an A, they're gonna get full reimbursement for that. That's what they have us do here at the county. But I mean, we just have to make sure how we word it is something, because the last thing that we want is an employee leaving not paying and then send them to collection for what, $50 or $100 or $300 or whatever it is. I think we have to be careful on that. I set it up before that way. If they leave, everything is taken care of. If they leave before they finish the class, then they'll get their money back because they paid for it.
So this program would work similarly. If someone would prepay their course, I mean, why would you prepay your course if you have financial aid? So you prepay your course, you get your A, B, or C, and you get that.
So it spells it out on the policy that you need to submit.
Yes, under the policy, you do need to submit your grades, and you need to submit, obviously, proof of that you paid for tuition, books, or fees. Obviously, someone that receives the financial aid is probably not going to submit that because they didn't pay for that. And going back to your concern about whether it's got to be a city-related type of a career, policy is broad enough to say the intent of this policy is to help employees learn, change, and improve while strengthening the city's ability to attract and retain highly qualified employees. So under your example, if if someone from, just say, streets or some other department is interested in accounting or in law or another type of field, that could potentially be a benefit that they're going to receive here at the city. Obviously, not something that's totally unrelated to the city, that there's no value for the city.
Yeah, so what's the language on it? Does it say it's guaranteed $12.50 or up to $12.50?
Up to 2,500 and subject to appropriations, it's first come, first served.
So it's up to, so we'll have to.
And you would set whatever amount you, at the annual budget set.
Yeah, any other questions?
Yes, Mayor, I have one more. And then this is probably to Mr. Lozano. In regards to fraud, are we covered, or do we have to put specific language in this in regards to fraud and the repercussions, or is it covered already by our policy that we have citywide for?
We believe that the other sections in the disciplinary area where the rules of conduct are spelled out, negligence and all those other things, I think those sections adequately cover if there's a fraud that's committed in this process, Mr. Villalpando. So a violation of the policy itself would subject someone to disciplinary procedures.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Mayor and Council, as has been discussed, and through the recommendation of the committee, we're asking for approval of these policies with the changes noted on the bereavement policy of adding grandchild and removing nephews and nieces to that policy. Any other questions on this matter?
No, is there a motion? There's a motion by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilman Gonzalez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 2020-006, the resolution of the city of Somerton declaring the Cocopah Indian Tribe Hotel Resort as a quarantine shelter for public safety personnel who become exposed to COVID-19.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. This was brought to us because we needed to find a quarantine shelter that would be available to any police or fire personnel that would be infected, because we can't send them home and then they'll put their families in danger. But the sticking point was that in order to recover money, whatever place was going to be the quarantine site would need a way to prove to the government that they were approved by the local agencies involved. And so Mike Pila, the emergency operations person for the tribe, requested that everybody that's going to participate identify the Cocopah Hotel as the quarantine site and have their elected members create a resolution which would identify them and showing that the local governments are in agreement with this. And it's really important to us that our people know that they have a place that they can go. Because if you end up finishing a shift and then you end up with a temperature at the end of the day, they're going to go test you we send our people to regional center. And then what do? Do you go home? I'm not going to go home. I'll have to live in my car if I have to, but I'm not going to come home to my wife. And I don't have kids. The ones that have kids have it even worse. And so having a quarantine site is very important. And so I'm approaching Mayor and Council today to ask that you pass this resolution identifying this. It will go to the tribe. The tribe will have the information they need through the resolution to be able to be reimbursed by the federal government. If there are any questions.
Questions? Thank you, Chief. Is there a motion? A motion by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Council.
Item number 6, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2020-07, resolution of mayor and city council of the city of Somerton, designating the chief fiscal officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2020 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General.
Good evening, council members, mayor, council members, Zarina Gallegos, Chief Finance Director. The Arizona Auditor General is asking us to pass this resolution on a yearly basis. Last year, with your appointment as the Finance Director, that was enough to submit to the Arizona Auditor General, but they're requiring a resolution be approved that is designating the Chief Financial Officer for fiscal year 2020. This is a resolution that will be brought to council on a yearly basis.
Any questions, comments? Any questions or comments?
No.
Is there a motion?
Move, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Gonzalez,
Second.
second by Councilman Roldan. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. A summary of current events.
Mayor, members of the council, the last few days have been focused primarily on the budget. Finance Director Gallegos and I have been meeting individually with each general fund department director to go over where they are in the current fiscal year and what their outlook is for the next fiscal year. We'll have much more detail at the work session coming up this Thursday at 6 p.m. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. we'll be having an informational session with Somerton barbers and cosmetologists to inform them about the governor's order to reopen those businesses on Friday with modifications. We want to make sure that the safety guidelines are followed. It's of course very important as we move forward. The number of COVID-19 cases in Yuma County continues to roughly double each week. So even though we all want our businesses to reopen, it's very important that we continue to follow the safety recommendations. We expect to potentially have a similar meeting with restaurants in the day ahead, as those are scheduled to reopen on Monday, May 11th. Excuse me. Sunset Health will be offering drive-through testing this Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon here in Somerton. The Regional Center for Border Health continues to offer COVID-19 testing every day. Both of these services are for people who think they may have been exposed to or infected with COVID-19. The city will be assisting with traffic control for the Sunset Health event on Saturday, as well as for a meat donation event on Friday morning at 10 a.m. at the community center. We're looking ahead to the eventual reopening of City Hall and other city facilities, and are looking at various precautions we can take to protect both staff and visitors, including installing plexiglass at customer service counters, placing markings on the floor to ensure social distancing, and requiring the use of masks by customer service personnel as well as potentially the public. And I do have some reports from directors that are not on the phone. Parks and Recreation Director Jesus Mesa said the department is coordinating logistics with police and public works for the meat distribution activity scheduled for Friday, May 8th from 10 to 1 at the community center. Parks maintenance staff continues to use this time to reinforce parks maintenance projects, and we are looking into adding protective components to City Hall, like plexiglass at front counters before opening our doors to the public. Community Development Department, the 2020 census self-response in Somerton is now at 20.3%. Staff continues working on activities to incentivize residents. Our first raffle to thank all residents who have submitted their questionnaire is scheduled for May 22nd, with prizes of gift certificates from local businesses and credits to city utilities. More raffles will occur in the next few months, along with other activities. The 2020 general plan update is scheduled to be presented to council for final approval on June 2nd. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval at the regular meeting on April 20th. A review and potential application approval of preliminary plat for Max subdivision has been tentatively scheduled for May 18th with the Planning and Zoning Commission and June 16th with the council. This is a 16-lot subdivision at the southwest corner of Madison and Cesar Chavez. I'll take a drink. Public Works, Zocalo Garden Street reconstruction and water replacement project update. The contractor completed the removal of the asphalt and existing ABC material. Subcontractor should start the water main replacement next week. The water main extension on Avenue B. The contractor started the installation of the new 10-foot PVC line along Avenue B. The contractor started from south to north. And regarding the new high school sewer design improvements update, we have received the 30% design plans for this project. We have already sent the plans to the Union High School Committee for review and comment. This includes the sewer force main, gravity line, and lift station. The new traffic impact study for the upcoming high school, City Park, commercial development, and Somerton Elementary School. We have hired a consultant to perform this study. We received preliminary comments to help to better plan the new infrastructure. Two very important items to mention is the possible need for a new traffic signal on the future access to the high school and city parks to the north, as well as the entrance to the south for the new Somerton Elementary School, as all of this is on Main Street west of Cesar Chavez Avenue. And the second is to potentially redesign or make changes to the current Cesar Chavez traffic signal design. We are working to determine the impact of these changes. Economic development, ROB 6, work starts on the facade improvement for the building location located at 316 West Main. A second meeting was held with a residential developer interested in building new homes in Somerton. A pre-application meeting will be held with their engineering firm to start the subdivision application process. And lastly, police on board with traffic control for Saturday testing at Sunset Clinic, on board for the distribution of meat on Friday. Our dispatchers began intense training today for new computer-aided dispatching conversion. We have 2 new officers on board and on training. As soon as practical, we will present to council for swearing in. We continue to review all the cases to finalize the cleanup of our evidence room. We recently received PPE donations from Axon, our body camera provider.
And Ms. Gallegos, are you still on the call, or would you like to read your?
I am still on the call.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, the utility billings were sent out Monday. So those should have been received. I've been working with several with the department heads on the finishing touches for this week's work session, and I have been pretty much very, very busy with budget and working with WIFA and our current contractor on the water tank project. That's moving along. As soon as I have any additional details, I will forward them to you. Thank you.
And Chief DeAnda would be last if he's still on the call.
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you, Ian. Mayor and council, I guess before I go into what I have to say, I wanted to thank the mayor and the council for the strong leadership. Our mayor was the first one to really take a strong stand and doing things about this. And so, being a Somerton kid means a lot. Excuse me. Anyway, moving on to the business of the fire department, we're going to be working with Amanda Geary to do antigen testing for all their employees and all the public safety people in South County. And so in the next few days, they'll be opening a portal through the Governor Ducey's team that works with U of A. And of course, they will have us log in, and then they're gonna schedule a day so we can go take the antigen testing. And what happens is we'll find out if any of our people have been exposed and didn't even know it, because as we all know, all of us were getting sick around December, January, February, and we all took for granted that it was the regular flu. So we're going to be getting that checked out. We continue to have an issue with County 19th in the desert. We ran there on Sunday. 2 females flipped an ATV. They ended up transporting themselves to the hospital, but our people said there was easily hundreds of vehicles out there, and they're estimating 500 to 1,000 people were out there. I mean, it's not a small crowd. It's a very big crowd. And I know that everyone's thinking, the fire department's being too uptight about this, but you get that many people, they're not socially distancing, and one of them is ill and passes it on, we can have a cluster. And those people can take it home and kill grandma and grandpa. They can kill the aunt diabetic. And so I take it very seriously. And I've attempted to receive help from the county sheriffs. They've pretty much said they're not going to help us. That's a BLM area, and it's up BLM to patrol it. Of course, I feel differently. I don't see the effort it would take to send one patrol car out there on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in the evenings and tell people they need to disperse and go home. But that's just my personal opinion. As all of you know, I'm real strong in my opinions. But I think a human life that we can save is worth having a strong opinion. And so, all of you are leaders in the community. And so when you talk to your family members and friends, and they're off-roaders and they're very enthusiastic about four-wheeling and all that, tell them that right now is not the time to be doing that. 2-3 months down the road when we're clear from this, it'd be great. But right now is not the time. And they can be saving a life by not violating the social distancing. Other than those 2 things, and my congratulations to the mayor and council for their strong leadership. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Castillo.
Well, Mayor, I met with our economic development, on April 28th, I followed up on, expressing, our goal to obtain a grocery store here in Somerton. And he did come up, he did say that, there's this company called the Retail Coach. And there's some information on the weekly report sent out last week where, it's a company that can help, that could help us, obtain that goal, there is a cost to it, approximately about $20,000, give or take. But I know last year, the last 2 years, we had Buxton, which we were paying close to $50,000 on it. So that was discussed. So I mean, that's I think we're going to be in the upcoming weeks. I think Mr. Tucker is going to be bringing that up. I'm actually excited. I have the it's called the grocery analysis and report strategy. So I think that's a step in the right direction. I did express our concern that, that's a goal that I think we do have, and he has that, that task to, make it his legacy to be the one that brought us that grocery store here in Somerton. So, I think I felt that it was a very productive meeting. Ian was there. I also met with Ian on the 30th, to just discuss, city happenings and whatnot. A very productive week last week as I met with both of them. So, that's all I have.
Councilman Gonzalez.
I just want to ask Ian about the meat distribution on Friday. Just local people, or is it countywide?
This is in some ways, a private event. It's a private company that is doing this event. The city's just helping facilitating the traffic flow. So they are not restricting it to city only. They are really trying to limit the amount of interactions between personnel and the public. So by requiring an identification, their water bills, not only would it put their volunteers in close proximity potentially with the public, but it will also slow down the process and make traffic tie-ups even potentially worse. So short answer is, while we certainly encourage it only for Somerton residents because they've already been to San Luis, they've already been to Yuma, there is no specific stipulations to that effect.
Is it gonna be announced here in the city? Because we haven't heard anything yet. For the members of the community, especially elderly people that.
I have seen some publicity. I can't recall exactly where. I will share with the Parks Director, make sure that we do share that.
Go ahead.
Councilman Castillo again.
You know what, I was just gonna ask on a follow-up, Ian, I know about a month ago, I asked about an ordinance about price gouging, you know, just a follow-up.
Yes, there was a draft emergency ordinance put together regarding changing prices in an emergency situation. That item was not added to our agenda, but it has been drafted.
Vice Mayor Garcia.
I just want to share that at the state level, I've been added to the Public Safety, Military Affairs, and Port Committee and the Neighborhood Sustainability and Quality of Life Committee. Those are for policy inputs and resolutions. So when all this gets done, you know, like to meet with the courts, fire, PD, and to see if, you know, we can talk about policies at the state.
Thank you for volunteering and keeping Somerton at the state level. I think you're the only one in Yuma County, right?
Yeah.
In those committees. Yeah. Councilman Villalpando?
I don't have anything there. Thank you.
Councilman Beltran?
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Well, just want to mention that I'm very concerned with the state opening up. We see in Yuma County that we are not even hitting our peak yet, and we knew that we're behind the curve compared to the other bigger cities. We're rural communities, so opening businesses has me very, very concerned with considering how our region is doing, and that is why we're being proactive. And tomorrow we're having the meeting with the barbers and hair salons, and also on Friday we're looking into meeting with the restaurants. And my intent is to educate them about following very closely the CDC guidelines. And also we're going to be doing visits to ensure that our residents are being kept safe, that the proper PPE is being used, that there's appointments, and because I'm very concerned, and we're going to have the fire department at the meetings to, and also the police will be enforcing that they're following those guidelines. Other than that, is there a motion to adjourn into executive sessions?
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
There's a motion by Councilman Castillo, second by Vice Mayor Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.